Good day everyone. Today we are going to present an evaluation on productivity of poultry farm ABRAD Central Berhad and POKOK SENA KEDAH. The purpose of our report is to identify the factors contributing to the low rate of productivity. Secondly, to determine the effectiveness of the existing indoor system. Without further delay, I will briefly introduce you the background of ABRAD Central Berhad. Puan Haja Salma was acting as the owner of poultry farm, simultaneously as the chief director of the company. ABRAD Central Berhad was operated its business in respect of poultry farming, particularly in breeding the broilers. Those broilers was to be supplied to Ayam Mas Malaysia. Broilers could be defined as the chicken meat which we breed and for the purpose of daily consuming. While currently, ABRAD Central Berhad was operating its poultry farm on the basis of indoor system. Well, what is indoor system? Indoor system is a system which placing all the broilers under a ceiling broiler house, and which such broiler house was equipped with all the essential equipments such as air ventilation system and water pipes for the purpose of supplying water for broilers daily consume. And throughout our report, we have identified two major problems which lead to the low rate of productivity. First of all, defectiveness in the existing indoor system. Such defectiveness was due to inconsistent of electricity supply. Electricity supply is important in order to operate air ventilation system. So what is the purpose of installing air ventilation system within the broiler house? Air ventilation system is to provide an airflow which is rich in oxygen content, firstly. Secondly, to maintain the temperature within the broiler house. Could you imagine how could the broilers to survive within a hot temperature within the broiler house? And therefore, throughout our interview sessions, we found that nearly 20 packs of broilers died due to suffocations as due to high temperature or hot weather, and this has caused a huge loss to ABRAD poultry farm and therefore lead to the low rate of productivity. Secondly, financial shortage was experiencing in ABRAD Central Berhad, ABRAD poultry farm, and the financial shortage causing there has insufficient of capital to be allocated in order to obtaining new technology or to eliminating the defectiveness of the existing indoor system. While through our interview session, we have also found that financial shortage was due to ABRAD poultry farm in hiring foreign workers. This was affirmed by Puan Haja Salma, saying that hiring foreign workers is much more expensive than hiring local workers. And we have found that the main power in maintaining and running the daily operations in ABRAD poultry farm is the foreign workers. And therefore, with the allocation of huge amount of financial in respect of human resources, it has eliminating the opportunity in allocating that amount of money to eliminating the defectiveness in the existing indoor system. And as such, it will cause the low rate of productivity to be sustained if the defectiveness doesn't be eliminated. And for the purpose of this report, our ultimate aim is actually to increase the rate of productivity, and therefore we have scrutinized into two major scopes, particularly maintenance and also financial, in order to analysis and to find out what is the main cause in contributing the low rate of productivity. And in regards to maintenance, there are two sub-scopes, which particularly is the electricity supply and also in-house system enclosure. While for financial is the capital and also human resources. While all in all the scope would be scrutinized and analysis subsequently in the next sessions. Well, with that, I end my sessions and I will pass to Mr. Lim Jia Hui for the subsequent sessions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Xia. So for my part, I will be present about the methodology. So there are total of two methods that we use in this study, which is the primary method and the secondary method. For the primary method, there will be interview and questionnaire. For the interview, we had conducted a face-to-face interview session with the owner of the ABRAD Sdn Bhd, which is the Madam Haja Salmah. So we successfully to obtain all the data and information that we need for our studies during the sessions of interview. The data that we obtain, such as the background of the company, the daily operation of the poultry farm, the challenges that might be faced by the owner. So for the questionnaire, we have conducted our online questionnaire through the Google form. We able to obtain 50 responses from 50 respondents through the online questionnaire. For the question part, there will be 4 sections with total number of 10 questions. So the questionnaires are able to let us to obtain the opinions from the respondents, and we could know that the best fit solution to make sure that to ensure that the problems and the productivity of the poultry farm. For the secondary method, there will be a website review and article review. For the website review, we have visited the official website of ABRAD Sdn Bhd. For the article review, we have reviewed several articles so that we have the ideas, we have the concept that what are we going to do, what are we going to do towards our scope of studies. Other than that, the article that we obtained can also be our reference in our report. So for the very first analysis, which is the maintenance, the subscope is electric supply. So is electric supply essential in daily operation of poultry farm? There are 90% in total, which is 45 respondents out of 50 respondents. They agree that the electric supply is essential in our daily operation of poultry farm. Why? This is because, in their opinion, they think that the electric supply is essential to ensure the smooth daily operation of the farm and to sustain the rate of productivity for poultry farm. For example, the ventilation system cannot be operated well without the electric supply. So when the ventilation system cannot be operated well, the temperature of the broiler in-house will be rise up and the rate of productivity will be affected. For the second analysis, which is the productivity affected without air ventilation, there are 94% of the respondents, which is 47 respondents out of 50 respondents, that they in their opinion, they think that the productivity is affected without air ventilation system. This is because the air ventilation system is used to provide the constant flow of oxygen inside the broiler, the in-house broiler system, the in-house broiler. Other than that, the ventilation system is also to maintain the optimal temperature by circulating the airflow. Therefore, the 47 respondents out of 50 respondents, majority of them, in their opinion, they think that the productivity is really affected without ventilation system. For the next analysis, which is the air ventilation system is an essential equipment in broiler house. For the analysis for the data we get, 90% of the respondents, which is 45% out of 50%, they agree that the air ventilation system is an essential equipment in broiler house. This is because, due to what I said before, the air ventilation system is very important to maintain the room temperature in the broiler house. Other than that, it is to ensure that the airflow in the broiler house is consistently working well and the oxygen flow is working well in the broiler house. But although majority of them are agree the air ventilation system is important, but there are few of them, which is 5 respondents, they are disagree about the air ventilation system is an essential equipment in broiler house. This is because due to what due to their opinion, they might think that the poultry farm normally they are far from the town. So when the poultry farm are far from the town, they might face some problem like insufficiency of electric supply. If the the air ventilation system is without sufficient electric supply, it couldn't get it couldn't work well. So this is what the respondents that might think. So thank you. I will be pass my part to Miss Nisa.
Thank you, Mr. Lim Jiahui from the previous slide. Before that, I will introduce myself first. My name is HANISAH binti YAACOB. My matric number is 255022. Now, I will explain in-house system enclosure under the scope of maintenance which will affect the rate of productivity of poultry. The first factor is environmental such as disease and climate. Okay, from the questionnaires, 98% of the respondents had voted that environmental factor will affect the rate of productivity, while only 2% of the respondents choosing otherwise. The majority of the respondents agree because maintaining the environmental temperature using good ventilation can reduce heat stress and poultry will grow well. While to prevent poultry disease, vaccination programs and professional advice in health management must be practiced. However, a minority of the respondents state that the system in-house enclosure will not be affected by disease and climate because they believe the system has all the good equipment and maintenance which can maintain the broilers' production. The second factor is in-house system is better than conventional broiler house in sustaining the productivity rate. From the questionnaires, 78% of the respondents agree with that statement, while other respondents, 22%, not agree. Okay, the reason they agree because in-house system has better control in maintaining optimal temperature, which we can know the behavior of birds using the temperature zone. However, 22% of the respondents disagree because they think in-the-house system capacity is lower than conventional broiler house and complex in managing the poultry farm. The higher cost also will be included.
Thank you, Ms. Nisa. Now I will continue the presentation with the part financial. In this part, there will be two subscopes being discussed, which is capital and human resource. We will discuss with capital now. So, based on the questionnaire that we collected, we found that 48 of the respondents, or 96% of the respondents, feels that poultry farm could grow in larger scale if sufficient capital is being obtained. This is because they feel that sufficient capital is the key to expand the farm into larger scale. But there are two respondents, or 4% of the respondents, say no to a statement because they feel that poultry farm still will be able to expand without sufficient capital being obtained. So next, for the statement, poultry capital will enable poultry farm to enhance the existing breeding technology and facility of poultry farm. 48 of the respondents, or 96% of the respondents, say yes to a statement because they feel that the capital will help them to improve the existing condition of the poultry farm, and with capital, poultry farm can conduct research and development to increase the productivity of the poultry farm. But there are two respondents saying no to the statement because they feel that the capital could be allocated into other expenses for good use, which for example, salary. So next, for human resource, 14 respondents, or 28% of respondents, say yes to the cost of foreign worker is higher than local worker statement. This is because they feel that salary of foreign worker are calculated based on their work hours, and employer doesn't need to pay for EPF for those foreign workers.
But 36 of the respondents, or 72% of respondents, say no to a statement because they feel that hiring foreign workers, there are existence of insecure costs in visa, and the employer have to prepare necessity and accommodation for the foreign worker. So next, for 39 respondents, or 78% of the respondents feels that salary will affect the financial status of the poultry farm. This is because they feel that salary is the essential cost of poultry farm. Since the poultry farm needs worker to deal with the daily operation, so salary is the essential cost that the poultry farm need to bear with. But 11 of the respondents, or 22% of the respondents, say no to the statement because they feel that salary is a minor expenses if we compare it with others operating expenses. So lastly, 42 of the respondents, or 84% of the respondents, feels that manpower will affect the productivity of poultry farm because more manpower are being applied into a poultry farm, much intensive care will be applied to the boiler, and greater care will be applied for the chicken and improve the productivity of the farm. But 8 respondents, or 16% of the respondents, say no to the statement because they feel that the industry are moving toward IR 4.0, which is known as Industrial Revolution 4.0, which will be a capital intensive for using more machine and less worker, which will minimize the cost and increase the income of poultry farm. So that's all for me for the part financial. Next, for the conclusion of the maintenance, I will leave it to Miss Nisa to continue.
For conclusion, maintenance is one of the aspects that must be given high degree of care as it will influence the rate. So, by having comprehensive maintenance from time to time, it will ensure a smooth daily operation. Under the maintenance of the electricity supply, it can be concluded that electricity supply is essential in poultry farm as it will influence the daily operation. If disruption of electricity supply occur, it will give defect to the air ventilation system. So, electricity supply is important to ensure optimal temperature, humidity, and air contamination in the broiler house to avoid death of broilers. Furthermore, in-house system is crucial in sustaining rate of productivity because has sufficient equipment such as air conditioner and humidity control able from the control panel. So with good equipment and proper management can reduce disease, climate condition, and others which can affect the health condition of birds. Next, I will pass to Mr. Thong for others explanation. Thank you.
Thank you to Miss Nisa. Now I will continue the presentation with the conclusion of analysis financial. In this part, we will also discuss the two subtopics, which is capital and human resource. So for capital, we concluded that sufficient capital is crucial in enhancing the rate of productivity because the larger the capital that being obtained, will help the poultry farm to enlarge the scale of its productivity. So with capital, it will also help the poultry farm to improve the existing breeding technology and the facility, which will increase the productivity of the poultry farm. So for human resource, we concluded hiring foreign worker is expensive compared to local worker because there is the existence of incurred cost in visa, and the employer have to prepare the necessity and accommodation for the foreign worker. And the salary will also affect the financial status of the poultry farm because if expenses has become a major expenses, the financial status will be affected. So that's all from me. For the next part, the recommendation, I will leave it to Miss Fatihah to continue. Thank you.
Thank you to my groupmate. So basically, ABRAD farm is located far from main road, which they were facing some electric problem most of the time. The problem had led to some machinery failure, which is important for the productivity of the farm. So, the proposed solution to the ABRAD scenario Berhad is to ensure that the farm was adequate and being equipped with sufficient electric supply. For example, they can channel their electric supply from the main power switch. Moreover, the weather in Kedah is mostly sunny. It is reliable for the ABRAD scenario Berhad to have solar panel as their alternative solution in order to cater the electric problem. This alternative solution can help to generate constant electric supply to the ventilation fan in order to reduce the temperature in the farm, as the broiler cannot have a high temperature, otherwise they will die. Using solar as an alternative power is cheap and will worth the saving of the farm. This alternative solution is sure it helps in the saving, as the solar power is cheap and will help in the farm saving. Also, the solar power can be saved and it can be used later on if there was a power or electrical problem at the farm. Moving on, the second proposed solution is changing their current system into in-house system. So the temperature in the surrounding will be more sustainable, as the owner and the worker can monitor the room temperature, whether it is suitable or not for the broiler. Also, if using in-house system, it will help in controlling the humidity of air and generate new oxygen particles, which, if compared to the previous system, it will expose the broiler to polluted air or infection, which, for example, influenza, which will decrease the productivity of the farm and the farm will suffer loss. So, as a conclusion, based on the proposed solutions, it is assured that the company will increase their productivity and can avoid losses due to the problems stated by my fellow groupmates previously. So that's all from me. I'll pass to Nurin for the next recommendation.
Thank you, Miss Fatihah. Now we'll be moving on to the next part of the recommendation, which is financial. So for recommendation of financial, we will firstly cover about the capital. As everyone already know, the capital is very crucial in assisting the business to accomplish a better performance. However, despite of having indoor system providing care towards the broilers, the percentage of productivity, however, is still not giving any satisfaction, as the condition of the indoor system poultry are still failing to meet the requirements of an ideal poultry farm. The deficiency had caused the poultry owner a huge loss, as death of the broilers would occur frequently. Therefore, ABRAD Sdn Bhd are recommended to obtain financial help from financial institution as to raise sufficient capital for the purpose of enhancing the existing broiler house to become the in-house system, which has all the advanced technology installed, such as air conditioner and humidity control panel. This is because air-conditioned broiler houses are more effective in preventing insects that could infect the broilers from getting inside the poultry houses. And the existing indoor system does not provide a proper care for the broilers, because the excessive heat could not be removed, even with the equipped ventilation, due to the extreme temperature. So by installing air conditioner, it would set a perfect humidity for the broilers when they are at the right age. So for the second recommendation regarding financial is about the human resources. So for ABRAD Senja Berhad, the workers are one of the important factors that influence the productivity of the poultry farm. The company are now currently operating with 5 workers, which are mostly foreigners. So each one of the workers are in charge of one broiler house consisting 20,000 of broilers, contrary to the cheaper salary of the local workers, as local workers get paid by hours, and employer also doesn't have to contribute to the employees provident fund, EPF. The foreign workers, however, requires another expenses on their stay because employer need to obtain visa for their foreign workers, and therefore ABRAD Senjan Berhad are recommended to hire local workers as they would be much more affordable. By doing so, it has also indirectly saved cost and improve the capital which the owner would be able to allocate the extra amount to fix the defectives on the existing indoor housing system and to enhance relevant technology and other facilities. So despite the employer has to contribute to the EPF, local workers are much more easier to handle as they do not need to be provided with accommodation and other necessities. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.